3 times in the Johannine story of the second healing in Galilee, the author we call John describes the trip from Cana to Capernaum as a coming down or a going down. That's confusing. It's confusing. When we were doing the Christmas studies, we heard about going up to Jerusalem. Wait a minute, Jerusalem is south of Galilee. Wouldn't it be going down to? No, because they're not talking about north, south, east, west. They're talking about the topological going up and down, mountains, the geography, elevation, and descents. John chapter 4, verse 47. When the royal heard that Jesus had come from Judea to Galilee, he went and begged him to come down and heal his son. Now, he's coming from Capernaum, which is right there on the Sea of Galilee. What do you think the elevation of that is? Low. That tells you where Cana is. In the mountains, or in the higher area. Come down and heal his son, for he was at the point of death. I'm showing you the geography right here, as a matter of fact. That's the way that pass is the way he would have had to come to see Jesus. John 4, verse 49, the royal said to Jesus, "Sir, come down before my little boy dies." John 4, verse 51, as he was going down, his slaves met him and told him that his boy was living. Cana was about 1,000 feet above sea level, but only about 14 miles from the Sea of Galilee, which is 680 feet below sea level. So to go from Capernaum to Cana, you're literally going up. You're not just going 14 miles, you're going 14 miles up. Almost 2,000 feet, and then you're going down almost 1,700 feet. The final descent was by way of the ancient road through the Arbel Pass, which you see right there. Takes place in Cana, the location of the first sign which Jesus did in Galilee. Both signs elicit belief. John chapter 2, verse 11, this, the first of his signs, Jesus did at Cana in Galilee, and manifested his doxa, and his disciples believed into him. John 4, verse 53, the Father knew that was the hour when Jesus had said to him, "Your son is living," and he himself believed, along with his whole household came to believe. Along with his whole household, I was a little redundant there. Along with his whole household. So belief elicited by the signs. The Greek term basilikos is usually assumed to refer to a royal official, a retainer. Maybe because the translator is trying to insist that we eliminate some of the distance between the story in Matthew and Luke, which is a centurion, and this guy. So a royal official, that would be a retainer in the retainer class. Let's put him in the retainer class. That's what the New Revised Standard Version does, and that's what our New American Bible Revised Edition does. That's what they wrongly translate basilikos into royal official. It just means royal. Royal. And could refer equally well to a royal personage, such as a member of the Herodian family. This seems more likely in view of the reference to the whole household believing in 4 verse 53 and to slaves in 4 verse 51. In any case, whether a royal retainer or a royal aristocrat, the man whose son is near death would be very high on the social scale in a town like Capernaum. He is certainly not the type who would normally seek the patronage of a villager from Nazareth, right? Either way, a retainer or an elite. Patron-client systems are socially fixed relations of generalized reciprocity between social unequals, in which a lower status person in need, called a client, has his needs met by having recourse for favors to a higher status, well-situated person, called a patron. Don Vito Corleone in this picture is the patron. Bonacera, the funeral, the morgue mortician, is the client. By being granted the favor, the client implicitly promises to pay back the patron whenever and however the patron determines. And I hope that day may never come. Because he's a mortician. Do you want him to really repay you your favor? He'll do it one day for sure. By granting the favor, the patron in turn implicitly promises to be open for further requests at unspecified later times. Who knew that more than any so-called Bible movies and 99% of what goes for Bible studies, you can learn a hell of a lot more about the Bible by watching the Godfather trilogy. Just one watching of the Godfather trilogy will get you closer to understand the biblical world than 99% of so-called Bible studies out there, and guaranteed 100% of all Bible movies out there. Absolutely. Including Mel Gibson's. Back to patron-client. Such open-ended relations of generalized reciprocity are typical of the relation between the head of a family and his dependents, wife, children, and slaves. And that's why it's a patron, a patros, patera, father, a godfather. It's sacred. By entering a patron-client arrangement, the client relates to his patron as to a superior and more powerful kinsman, while the patron sees to his clients as to his own dependents, his wife and children. See? While patron-client relations existed throughout the Mediterranean, the Roman version of the system, for example, looked as follows. From the earliest years of the Roman Republic, the people who settled on the hills along the Tiber River had as a part of their families free-born retainers called clients. These clients tended flocks, produced a variety of needed goods, and helped farm the land. In return, they were afforded the protection and largesse of their patrician patrons. Such clients had no political rights and were considered inferior to citizens. Citizen really is a bad translation. There's no citizen in the ancient world, right? What it should be is a native, or a person who is a resident, recognized resident of the city. Okay? Someone bearing Roman status. In Acts, Paul is someone who'd never been to Rome by that point, but he's someone in Acts, okay? He never claims this in his own letters. Remember, Luke is a spinmeister. In Acts, he is said to have Roman status. We translate that as Roman citizen. And really, there are no rights in the ancient world. It should be privileges. So let me change that, right? Such clients had no privileges, political privileges, and were considered inferior to actual Roman residents, the patricians, though they did share in the increase of herds or goods they helped to produce. The mutual obligations between patron and client were considered sacred. So not just father, but godfather, and often became hereditary. Virgil, the poet, tells of special punishments in the underworld for patrons who defrauded clients. Great houses boasted of the number of their clients and sought to increase them from generation to generation. By the late years of the Roman Republic, the flood of conquered peoples had overwhelmed the formal institution of patronage among the Romans. A large population torn from previous patronage relations now sought similar ties with the great Roman patrician families. Consequently, Roman patronage spread rapidly into the outer reaches of the Roman world, even if in a much less structured form. By the early years of the Roman Empire, especially in the provinces, we hear of the newly rich competing for the honor status considered to derive from a long train of client dependents. These were mostly the urban poor or village peasants who sought favors from those who controlled the economic and political resources of the society. Patrons, then, are powerful individuals who control resources and are expected to use their positions to hand out favors to inferiors based on friendship. Remember what Bonacera says? Are you my friend? Godfather? Based on friendship, based on personal knowledge. Even you forget to call me Godfather. When I'm Godfather, you only child. And favoritism. Benefactor patrons were expected to generously support city, village, and client, like the Corleone family did. What I want, Don Corleone, is all your politicians that you have in your pocket, like so many nickels and dimes. Salazzo says, remember? He's asking a favor of Don Corleone. And that's like Augustus Caesar. The Roman emperor related to major public officials in this way. And they in turn related to those beneath them in similar fashion. And the whole Roman society break down like that. And like the mafia also breaks down like that. It's very Mediterranean. At least it was. Hey, thanks for watching. Just continue the playlist for the next part of the study. If you have further questions, this is good. They will get addressed, so keep watching. If you found value, please subscribe, like, and share. As always, questions, comments, and criticisms are most welcome. God bless you.